Yeah.
boxing, UFC, whatever. And it's much, because
I think that's one of the reasons that the UFC is crushing it as hard as it is. I mean, Dana White is a brilliant business guy and it's a great product and it's fascinating. But I think one of the reasons there's such an obsession with combat sports nowadays is that it's like, well, at least I can see like men being men type of thing. Do you know what I mean? Because nowhere else am I going to get that. I think it's undoubtedly to me a kind of like misplaced masculinity, or maybe it's not misplaced. It's just like the one place you can actually see it. And you're allowed to celebrate masculinity in that way, the hyper masculinity. It's a very interesting moment that we're in.
Is there a solution that you can see to the issues that men are facing in the sort of modern world, where suicide rates are through the roof, loneliness, depression?
Look, the solution for men is always going to be the same, which is to be better, to do better, to work harder, to learn skills, to grow, to develop, to look for mentors, to look for guidance, and to do things. It's always going to be the way. Like I said, no one's coming to save you. And this is why victimhood that we talked about earlier, it's especially bad for men because, we feel sorry for women. We don't really feel sorry for them, right? So if a woman is a victim, everyone wants to go and help her and support her. And it's natural and understandable. There's a very good evolutionary reasons for this, I think, which is men are biologically disposable, basically. If you have a tribe of 10 men, 10 women, you send the men off to war, one comes back, you can replenish the tribe. And that's one very lucky dude. If you do it the other way around and you send the women off to war, you're screwed, right? And so men are kind of disposable. We didn't evolve to feel sorry for them. And so for guys, again, you just got to do stuff and be better. And yes, you've been dealt a bad hand. You have, compared to the previous generations where men were in charge and all of that. You're going to have to find a way.
And wokeism and sort of, I guess, political correctness and cancel culture and all these things are much of the weapons that are used to put men in those situations, you would argue.
Yeah. But, I think I always worry when we have these conversations that to say that men, young men especially, younger than me, I think, have a bad deal is often like people try and immediately shove you in some kind of box, like you're some men's rights, blah, blah, blah. I just think that's an observable fact. And the reason I think it's important is that men and women need to work together. Men and women have had to work together for the entire history of human existence. One of the terrible things about wokeness is that it creates these divisions between men and women. Men are this, women are that. And you see the response to that from the aggressive masculine side now, women are all this and women are all that. Actually, the thing that men and women really need, more than anything, is each other. They need to work together. That operates at the level of your relationship with your girlfriend, my wife, but broader society too. We have different skill sets. We are naturally inclined towards different things. We have to find ways to work together better. And so when one side suffers, there was a time when women were treated very badly, a lot of them. That wasn't good. Treating men badly isn't going to work out well either. What you really need is finding ways for men and women to be healthy together in relationships. And so that's, I think, important to say that that's the objective. If that's the goal, if that's the objective that we're holding up, then the question is, how do we get there? And the answer to that is not to point fingers at the other sex and say they are this and they are that, but to go, well, men are naturally aggressive and dominant and status-seeking and all of this stuff, and let's find ways to channel that into effective things. We need guys to stand on construction sites and hammer shit into the ground and all of that. And we need women to do other things that are more natural to them. I mean, look, once you have a kid and you start taking them to nursery, you find out that, there is no gender equality in a kindergarten. It's mostly women that run that place. And that's the way it should be. And that makes sense. So we have different inclinations, different skill sets. It's not to say there aren't exceptions of course there are, right? But generally speaking, we need to work together. That's the point.
Yeah, I think even mentioning that there might be biological differences in male and female is where people those that are looking for
they need to man up.
Whataboutery, they come out in full arms. But I think anyone in their private relationship can very clearly state the differences between men and women. And as you say, they're not sweeping and there are exceptions.
But how beneficial, I don't know anything about you. We've just met. But I imagine your girlfriend's been instrumental in your life. Would that be fair to say?
Of course.
I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am without my wife. And we both reap the benefits of that. I'm sure that's the case with you. That's how it's supposed to work, on an individual level and at the level of society. Holding each other up, filling in gaps. Like the first time, I remember, you know something, when I was young, when I was about 20, like full of testosterone, I remember watching my mum resolve a conflict with a joke and a smile. And to me, it was like magic. I was like, whoa, you can do that? And then that was a helpful thing for me to learn. You know, in my masculine boarding school kind of environment, you'd never do that, right? It was all about who can like win and fight and dominate and whatever. We're useful to each other. We can learn from each other. That's the attitude that we should have towards each other and the other sex.
I love the term you used there when you said, hold me up, because that's exactly what my partner does for me.